have a reward. Can I open it now?
Please.
Oh, this is good. I love this. And so, the Federation presents this special award for cultural influence to the founder of the Federation, to the creator of Star Trek, Mr. Gene Roddenberry. This award, accepting the award for Gene, is his descendant, Mr. Gene Roddenberry the Sixth. Gene, big grandfather.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. I'm proud to accept this award today on behalf of my great grandfather, Mr. Gene Roddenberry. President of the Federation, fellow Federation citizens, Andorians, Vulcans, Tellarites, and Terrans. Who'd have thought, only 10 years ago, that we would be standing here, shoulder to shoulder, in the year 2161, to celebrate the founding of the United Federation of Planets. It was almost 200 years ago, March 11th, 1964, that my great-grandfather, you know, from now on, I'll just call him Grandpa Gene, okay? 200 years ago, Grandpa Gene first presented a proposal for a new TV show to the officials of Desilu Studios in Hollywood, California. That TV show, of course, was Star Trek. Now, I don't have to tell anybody here the influence that Star Trek has had over the past 200 years. With its 30 seasons of television, 726 total episodes, 13 movies, and uncounted numbers of books and short stories, Star Trek has influenced and inspired millions of people all over the Earth, and in fact, all over the Alpha Quadrant. Grandpa Gene would be proud of the Federation, much like the one that he envisioned in his time. I look out now to this audience, and I see not only allies, but also friends. People that I've gotten to know personally. People like Admiral Schran, like Ambassador T'Pau, and of course, Ambassador Vrall. It's hard for me to imagine, looking back even 10 years, and see how far we've all come. I mean, Vulcans, you've overcome strife on your High Council to accept the philosophical heritage that was yours from Sarek and become fast friends. Tellarites, you've overcome your struggles with the Andorians. We Terrans, we've overcome the xenophobia that we've often had, and we've learned to work with people of other species and other planets. And of course, Andorians. I don't have to tell anybody here what Andoria did to help Earth in our most difficult time. I mean, of course, the Xindi attacks. I think it's fair to say that without Andoria, and Admiral Schran in particular, I shudder to think about what the Earth would be like today. And not only the Earth, the entire galaxy. And so we look back and we see the things we've accomplished. But we have to remember that there's still a long way to go. I honestly believe that the Federation is more needed today than it ever has been before. I mean, just look around. The Klingon Empire becoming much more aggressive. And that shadowy force from the planet Romulus, well, I wouldn't be surprised if we see war in the next few years with the Romulans. But there is still hope. Grandpa Gene used to say, I believe that if mankind is to survive, he'll have to learn to appreciate other individuals and other cultures. In fact, Grandpa Gene always felt that his TV show could be a force for good in the world. And so it's no wonder that Star Trek has influenced so many people all over the Alpha Quadrant to look for the good in their fellow creatures. Grandpa Gene also believed in science, and that his show should reflect real science. And so it makes sense that he would have had so much influence over people all over the galaxy in their pursuits of science and technology. Just some of the many examples we could give from the late 20th and 21st centuries. The astronaut, Mae Jemison, first African-American woman in space. The physicists, Neil deGrasse Tyson and Stephen Hawking. And technologists, Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. All were inspired by Star Trek. And, of course, there was no real-life Zefram Cochrane to invent the warp drive in Bozeman, Montana. But in his place, the real-life scientist Miguel Alcubierre. You remember, back in 1994, he wrote that paper proposing what he called the warp drive, what he saw as a mechanism for faster-than-light travel. His inspiration? Well, in his words, I was watching Star Trek one day, and I thought, there must be a way that we can do this for real. There's one other man that I need to mention and my appreciation for. And that man, of course, is Herb Solau. Now, you're probably looking at me thinking, who the heck is Herb Solau? Well, most of us don't know his name. But I think it's fair to say that without Herb, Star Trek would have never come to be. And without Star Trek, the Federation never would have come to be. You see, when Grandpa Gene first presented his proposal to Desilu Studios, Herb Solau was in the audience. Herb was an executive at Desilu. Now, Herb liked the idea, but he knew that Gene Roddenberry would never be able to present in front of the hard-boiled network executives that they would have to impress to get the TV show on the air. It's easy, looking back now, and the influence Star Trek has had over the past 200 years, and think, it's a no-brainer for them to make it on TV. But in fact, they almost didn't make it. They were turned down by the first two networks they approached, CBS and ABC. Things at NBC weren't going a heck of a lot better. Herb Solau stepped in. He knew network executives. He knew how to talk to them. He had an old-fashioned staring contest with them, and finally, the network blinked. Star Trek made it on the air. The rest is history. I know Grandpa Gene would be proud of the inspiration that so many have taken over the years from his work. And I'm confident he would be proud of the Federation that we're all forging together. So I gladly accept this award on behalf of my great-great-great-great-grandfather, Mr. Gene Roddenberry. Here's to the next 200 years.
Before you say anything, I'd like to say something. I have this cough thing, and I can't sit very long.